अस्सलामुअलैकुम गाइस, कैसे हैं आप? उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप सब खैरियत से होंगे, खुश होंगे और हमारी दुआ है कि आप हमेशा खुश रहें, हंसते और मुस्कुराते रहें। मेरा नाम है रहमान अनवर
और मैं हूं मोहम्मद सोहेल
और मैं हूं ज़फ़र इक़बाल।
और आज हम देखने जा रहे हैं भाई हाउ इंडिया
पुल्ड अमेरिका एंड पाकिस्तान टू बिकम अ न्यूक्लियर
पावर। तो देखते हैं भाई वीडियो। अगर वीडियो पसंद आए तो लाइक सब्सक्राइब जरूर कीजिएगा और कमेंट में अपनी राय का इज़हार जरूर कीजिएगा। तो करते हैं वीडियो स्टार्ट।
At 15:45 hours, India conducted 3 underground nuclear tests in the Pokhran range.
Just last week, India conducted a series of nuclear explosive tests. So again, I ask India to halt its nuclear weapons program and join the 149 other nations that have already signed the comprehensive test ban.
Pakistan, China, the United States of America and several other countries sharply reacted to the Indian nuclear tests.
लेकिन भारत ने इन सभी आलोचनाओं को किनारे करते हुए 13 मई को फिर से पोखरण में 2 और परमाणु परीक्षण किए।
A widespread atomic power industry in the world will necessitate an international society in which the major states have agreed to maintain peace.
तलवार की नोक पर या एटम बम के डर से कोई हमारे देश को झुकाना चाहे, दबाना चाहे, ये देश हमारा दबने वाला नहीं।
शुरू से ही भाई।
Hi everybody! Ever since the Russia-Ukraine war and China-Taiwan conflict have escalated, the world has been constantly talking about one very important factor, and that is the possibility of a nuclear war.
Для защиты России и нашего народа мы, безусловно, используем все имеющиеся в нашем распоряжении средства. Это не блеф.
And today, while every single country in this world is striving to make a mark in the world economy, one of the most powerful instruments of war is a country's ability to use a nuclear bomb. And did you know, before we became the second fastest growing economy, before we became a $2 trillion economy, there was a time when US, UK, China and Pakistan together tried to bully India and tried to suppress our power. And this threat was so high that the US even considered dropping a nuclear bomb. Yes, you heard that right.
Indian intelligence reports indicated that the President Nixon had dispatched the 7th Fleet led by 75,000-ton nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Enterprise, the world's largest warship, to the Indian Ocean.
But you know what, guys? Even then, because of the extraordinary contributions and initiatives of legends like Homi Bhabha, Indira Gandhi, Lal Bahadur Shastri, Dorabji Tata, Atal Bihari Vajpayee and the legendary Abdul Kalam, today India stands as a powerful nuclear state. And this journey took us 51 years and 2 generations of leaders and scientists to reach the destination. And today, their dedication is the reason why India stands at a respectable position in the world economy. But as usual, this is one of the most important chapters of Indian history that is not taught in schools and colleges. And maybe because the world of geopolitics is darker than our imagination. So in this episode today, let's do a deep dive and try to understand what were the most dangerous threats to India from Pakistan, China and the United States. How did the leaders of India go against these superpowers of the world to establish India as a nuclear state? And what are the study materials to help you understand this critical and important chapter of Indian history? This is a story that dates way back to 1940s India, when World War II had just ended. India had just got her independence, and for the first time in the history of mankind, the leaders of the world had seen the power of a nuclear bomb at Hiroshima.
August 9th, 1945, a United States Army Air Force B-29 dropped a 10,000-pound plutonium bomb nicknamed Fat Man over the city of Nagasaki, Japan, 3 days after Hiroshima.
A city died and 80,000 of its inhabitants were wiped out.
Japan surrendered less than a week later, bringing to an end World War II.
And when people saw what these bombs did to Japan, everybody realized that if they want to command a power in the 21st century, they have to have a nuclear bomb. And this is why, ladies and gentlemen, the nuclear race began, with the most powerful countries including the US, UK and Russia testing their nuclear weapons to prepare for this nuclear race.
On July 16, 1945, the clock ticked down to the first man-made nuclear blast in history.
Finally, after 3 years' work, the atomic experts were ready to test their first bomb. In the control shack was Dr. J.R. Oppenheimer.
President Truman's dramatic announcement that Russia has created an atomic explosion.
In connection with the President's statement that there has been an atomic explosion in the Soviet Union.
While US did their tests in 1945, Russia did it in 1949, UK did it in 1952, France did it in 1960, and lastly, China conducted their tests in 1964. And while these countries were conducting their nuclear tests, nobody in the world said anything. But as soon as this inner circle of world power finished their nuclear tests, they came up with something called the Non-Proliferation Treaty in 1968. This treaty stated that non-nuclear states must commit themselves to not manufacture or acquire nuclear weapons, while nuclear weapon states commit not to in any way assist, encourage or help any non-nuclear state to acquire nuclear weapons. Basically, this treaty said, now that all the big boys have nuclear bombs, let's make sure that nobody else has it. In fact, India actually proposed a fair treaty saying that we all will disarm and promise not to develop weapons as long as the nuclear states promise to completely disarm their nuclear weapons. In short, India said, we will drop our weapons provided you do that too. But the harsh reality of geopolitics is that nobody gives a fish about justice or equality. So it got rejected. But you know what, guys? As soon as the West proposed this unequal deal of non-proliferation, everybody jumped on board and 191 countries signed this treaty, except India, Pakistan and Israel, and later even North Korea withdrew from it. Now the question over here is, when so many countries signed this deal, why did India not sign it? Well, that is because, ladies and gentlemen, something crazy was happening at the borders of India.
On the 20th of October 1962, the Chinese army launched a massive attack on India.
इस युद्ध से मिली सीख ने भारत को सामरिक तौर पर मजबूत कर दिया था.
On October the 20th, 1962, the first Chinese shells came screaming down, and the war had begun.
On 20th of October 1962, the Chinese invaded Ladakh and Arunachal Pradesh, and India lost about 43,000 square kilometers of land, which was captured by China in Aksai Chin. And from then till today, there have been border tensions between India and China. And then immediately, in just 3 years, we got attacked again by Pakistan, and this led to the 1965 India-Pakistan war.
By April, the armies of India and Pakistan were involved in a full battle over the control of the old Kanjarkot fort.
On top of that, Pakistan started to get cozy with China because we were their common enemy. And during the same time, India was a very weak country because our economy was in turmoil. We were facing both severe food shortages and famine problems all across the country. So in short, Pakistan and China was just one attack away from destroying our country. And this vulnerability is the reason why we did not sign the Non-Proliferation Treaty and started speeding up our process of becoming a nuclear state. And this is where, ladies and gentlemen, the Cold War between India and Pakistan began. Here's where we saw three legends come together to achieve this incredible security deterrence for India, who were Lal Bahadur Shastri, Homi Bhabha and Dorabji Tata. While Dorabji Tata actively financed research initiatives, Homi Bhabha was able to use this capital to establish world-class institutes like Tata Institute of Fundamental Research and Tromboy Atomic Energy Establishment in 1954. And cherry on the cake, in 1965, that is just 1 year after China became a nuclear state, Shastri ji actively gave the go-ahead for the production of nuclear explosives in India.
अगर तलवार की नोक पर या एटम बॉम्ब के डर से कोई हमारे देश को झुकाना चाहे, दबाना चाहे, ये देश हमारा दबने वाला नहीं. तो एक सरकार के नाते हमारा क्या जवाब हो सकता है सिवाय इसके कि हम हथियारों का जवाब हथियारों से दें.
And this is what led to the launch of Nuclear Explosive Design Group and something called the Study of Nuclear Explosions for Peaceful Purposes, or SNEPP. And you know what, guys, we were so close to developing this nuclear weapon that in a 1965 interview to All India Radio, Homi Bhabha had said that if we had the green signal, India could make a nuclear bomb in just 18 freaking months. And this sent such shockwaves across Pakistan that the then president of Pakistan, Zulfikar Bhutto, immediately announced, and I quote, "If India builds the bomb, we will eat grass or least even go hungry, but we will get one of our own." So you can imagine the intensity of the Cold War between India and Pakistan, right? But shockingly, in just 3 months, in January 1966, Homi Bhabha died in a plane crash. And what's even more shocking is that in the same freaking month, even Shastriji died due to suspicious reasons. As a result, the nuclear program of India took a hit. And just 5 years later, another India-Pakistan war broke out in 1971 when Pakistan launched something called Operation Searchlight on East Pakistan, which is modern-day Bangladesh.
There have been many reports of massacres in East Pakistan.
March 1971, the year of the killing begins. By ship and secret airlift, troops are brought to Dhaka. General Tikka Khan, popularly known as the Butcher, is sworn in as military governor. On the night of March 25th, the army moves to crush Bengal.
This was one of the bloodiest events in the history of Asia, whereby the Pakistani army killed 3 million Bengalis. These horrific incidents went on not for 1 or 2 months, but 9 long months and resulted into 10 million refugees who crossed the border to India. And the most pathetic thing about this operation was that Pakistan did this just to bully Bangladesh to keep it under its control. But, in this process, the Pakistani army made one big mistake. In December 1971, Pakistani Air Force attacked the airfields in India, and when they did it, it gave India the legal justification to formally enter the war. And although India's motives weren't entirely humanitarian or selfless, the Indian army surrounded the Pakistani army and they put Pakistan in such a position that Pakistan had to surrender to India within just 2 weeks. And in between this war, you know what happened? The United States of America deployed their 75,000-ton 7th Fleet against India in the Bay of Bengal. And this ship, mind you, was no ordinary ship at all. It was the world's largest warship and had a capacity to carry more than 70 fighters and bombers. And on the other side, we had the British ships in the Arabian Sea. So while the Brits were about to target India's western coast, the Americans were about to make a dash into the Bay of Bengal to Bangladesh. And between this British and American fleet was our one and only INS Vikram with barely 20 light fighter aircrafts. And here's where, as we all know, Russia came to our rescue with a nuclear armed fleet with 2 cruisers, 2 destroyers, support vessels along with 6 freaking submarines. This is the reason why the Brits and Americans backed out and finally Bangladesh got its independence in March 1971. And this is when Richard Nixon, the then president of the US, actually considered dropping a nuclear bomb in India in 1971. And it's not me who's saying this, it's the New York Times itself. This was the horrific threat that was looming upon India when she was at the mercy of the big boys to protect her own territories. So immediately, on 7th of September 1972, Indian Prime Minister Indira Gandhi authorized the work on nuclear fission device. And a small team of 75 scientists from Bhabha Atomic Research Center began the process of designing and developing atomic bomb for India. And just 2 years later, the first nuclear test was conducted in India in 1974 under an operation called Smiling Buddha.
It is clear that in order to meet our growing requirements of energy for agriculture and industry, we must produce more electricity. Our science, particularly our nuclear science, is dedicated to development, to achieving freedom from want and providing the essentials of an honorable life for our masters.
But this was not a weapons grade test, but was a peaceful nuclear explosion that could be used for mining techniques or to conduct large underground works. And just when we were about to upgrade to the nuclear weapon stage, India met with another series of hurdles. The emergency happened, the government collapsed, the economy went topsy-turvy, and the second oil shock happened in 1979.
भाइयों और बहनों, राष्ट्रपति जी ने आपातकाल की घोषणा की है.
The proclamation of emergency meant that not only elections were banned, but there was strict censoring of the press as well. The period was termed as the darkest hour in Indian history.
The oil-producing countries of the Arab world decided to use their oil as a political weapon. They will reduce oil production by 5% a month until the Israelis withdraw from occupied territories.
We face the possibility of temporary fuel shortages and some increases in fuel prices in America.
So again, for the next 20 years, due to economic and political hurdles, we could not pursue our nuclear status at all. But you know what, guys? During this time, that is from 1975 to 1995, the Indian Army knew very, very well that China was sharing technology and materials with Pakistan. And they also knew that the Pakistani army would soon have nuclear weapons. And if they did, do you realize we would be cornered by two of our neighbors who possessed nuclear bombs? But somehow, we could not do anything about it. So the question over here is, how did India handle the situation and how the hell did we hack our way to become a nuclear state? Well, here's where we saw another ray of hope in 1995. By this time, India had opened up its economy, we started growing at a phenomenal pace, and eventually, we again came to a position to focus on our nuclear project. This is when PM Narasimha Rao approved a nuclear test, but unfortunately, the CIA detected suspicious movement at Pokhran and the mission was aborted. And 1 year later, we again tried to conduct the test, but it was put to hold again because of a call from CIA officials. But this is where, ladies and gentlemen, for the third time in 1996, Atal Bihari Vajpayee came to power. And this is where we saw three more legends come together to fulfill the long-standing nuclear dream of India. And they were Atal Bihari Vajpayee, APJ Abdul Kalam from DRDO, and R. Chidambaram ji, who was the chief of the Department of Atomic Energy in India. But even before they could get started, Vajpayee ji's government fell in just 13 days.
और ये सरकार अंतर विरोधों में घिरी हुई देश का कितना लाभ कर सकेगी, ये प्रश्नवाचक चिन्ह है। हम अपने देश की सेवा के कार्य में जुटे रहेंगे। हम संख्या बल के सामने सर झुकाते हैं और आपको विश्वास दिलाते हैं कि जो कार्य हम अपने हाथ में लिया है, वो जब तक राष्ट्र के उद्देश्य पूरा नहीं कर लेंगे, तब तक विश्राम से नहीं बैठेंगे, तब तक आराम से नहीं बैठेंगे। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं अपना त्याग पत्र राष्ट्रपति महोदय को देने जा रहा हूं।
And again, for the next 2 years, nothing happened. And then came the climax year of 1998 when Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji again became the Prime Minister of India. So immediately on 8th of April, R. Chidambaram and APJ Abdul Kalam was summoned, thumbs up was given for the test, and the entire operation was conducted in such high secrecy that nobody except the then Home Minister knew about it. And the rest, as we saw in the Parmanu movie, an incredible team was set up at Pokhran. The team very, very cleverly avoided the US spy satellites with super accurate calculations. The nuclear devices were also flown from different parts of the country to avoid suspicion. And finally, on 11th of May 1998, at around 3:45 pm, India tested 3 devices, which were Shakti 1, Shakti 2 and Shakti 3. This was followed by 2 more detonations of Shakti 4 and Shakti 5. And finally, the grand announcement was made by India to the world.
Today, at 15:45 hours, India conducted 3 underground nuclear tests in the Pokhran range.
This is how, ladies and gentlemen, India became a nuclear power. And you know what? Just 2 weeks later, Pakistan responded with its own atomic blast and became a nuclear power too. So you see, it was quite obvious and true that Pakistan was being supported by China or US to corner India. This is how critical this nuclear testing was for the security of India. And all thanks to our brave and genius scientists and leaders, India today is one among just the 9 nuclear states in the world. And although US imposed sanctions on us, it was lifted soon, and India today is not just the second fastest growing economy, but also a powerful state that can voice an opinion that is seriously considered by the world. And this brings me to the last part of the episode, which are the study materials to help you dig deeper into this unsung achievement of India. Meanwhile, if you are someone who is interested in learning more about how India became a nuclear power, you should listen to this audiobook from Koku FM. In fact, during the research of this video, I listened to this audiobook and gained a lot of insights on how India managed to achieve this historic feat. This audiobook will give you some intricate details as to why it was absolutely necessary for India to keep this operation hidden from the world, especially the United States of America. The most amazing thing about Koku FM is its user-friendly app. This app has amazing features such as the drive mode feature, the savings note feature, the sleep timer feature, and many more features that will enhance your learning experience while you listen to these audio shows. Also, there are a lot of other audio shows on Koku FM app that can help you in knowing more about the nuclear powers and geopolitics, like the US-India nuclear deal and the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis. You will also get various audiobooks that will help you in your development, investment, nutrition, mental health, and even entrepreneurship. And guess what? All of this is available to you at only 49 rupees. Kuku FM is India's leading audio shows platform with 2.3 million active paid subscribers, 4.5 plus rating, and is available in Hindi and major regional languages all across India. And for the very first time, Kuku FM is now giving an exclusive 50% discount to users availing their first one subscription at only 49 rupees. So if this sounds useful to you, use my coupon code THINK50 and avail the discount directly from the link in my description. Moving on to the study materials, the first thing I'm attaching are the documents about 1962, 1965 and 1971 wars of India with China and Pakistan. Secondly, I am attaching the documents that will tell you how much Pakistan was actually being supported both by US and China against India. And after so many threats and the suspicious death of the Prime Minister and Homi Bhabha, do you realize it takes guts to execute the nuclear test again? Whether that is Vajpayee ji, who did not care about his political power, or APJ Abdul Kalam and the scientists who risked their life just to make sure that our generation is safer than theirs. And lastly, I am attaching an article from a nuclear scientist himself about how Pokhran tests were conducted. So do have a look at them and let me know what you think. That's all from my side today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button in order to make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye. And if this story inspires you, please share this video with as many people as possible as a tribute to the contributions and legacy of our leaders.
बिल्कुल भाई, जैसा कि आपने भाई जाना कि एक न्यूक्लियर पावर कैसे हाथ में आई थी, बहुत मेहनत थी, बहुत ज़्यादा मेहनत थी, लेकिन हमारे वालों ने बोला था कि भाई घास खाएंगे लेकिन भाई बम बनाएंगे, लेकिन हम अब भी घास खा रहे हैं, लेकिन इंडिया भाई सेकंड नंबर पर जा रहा है, जो कि भाई उनकी इकनॉमी कैसे बूस्ट कर रही है, ऐसे ऐसे जा रही है भाई ऊपर, न्यूक्लियर की तरह ही ऊपर जा रही है, मेहनत कर रहे हैं भाई।
तो जो है ना वो एक नई चीज़ का पता चला कि जो बाकी कंट्रीज़ है ना, जिस तरह यूएसए, रशिया, चाइना वगैरह, उन्होंने जो है ना वो मतलब 40 से बाद ही जो है ना वो तकरीबन 40, 50, 60 तक जो है ना वो ये 20 सालों में ही वो बन गए थे न्यूक्लियर पावर। तो हमें जो है ना वो थोड़ा टाइम लगा, जिस तरह इंडिया और पाकिस्तान जो है ना वो 90 की जो है ना वो में आ गया, 99, 90 जो है ना वो 80, 98 में, तो ये थोड़ा सा टाइम लगा। लेकिन ये कि अगर इंडिया की बात करें तो भाई वो थोड़ा सा जिस तरह वो उनके तो मेन जो हैं मतलब जो ये इस चीज़ के ऊपर वर्किंग कर रहे थे, एक मतलब जिनको हार्ट अटैक आ गया, एक जो है ना वो वैसे उनकी डेथ होगी, तो उस वजह से उनका थोड़ा सा डिले हो गया। लेकिन ये कि दरमियान में जिस तरह उनके ऊपर क्राइसिस आए उस वक्त जब मतलब ये इम्पोर्टेंट था, लेकिन फिर भी उन्होंने जो है ना वो बहुत वेट किया। मुझे लगता है कि इतना किसी कंट्री ने या किसी ने इतनी तगोदो नहीं की होगी कि पहले हम अपनी पोजीशन पे पहुंचे, उसके बाद हम जो है ना अनाउंसमेंट करें।
नहीं, अब जिनकी डेथ हुई है ना, पहली बार हमने सुना है उनका, काफी न्यूक्लियर पर वीडियो भी देखी है डिटेल में, लेकिन अभी पहली बार उनका
इतनी मेहनत करने के बावजूद वो अचीव नहीं कर सके, मतलब जितनी उन्होंने, ये शास्त्री साहब की बात हो रही थी और मतलब ये कि हाँ होमी बाबा, लेकिन ये कि आगे जाके जो है ना वो क्रेडिट जरूर जाता है एपीजे अब्दुल कलाम साहब को, और प्लस जो है ना वो
वाजपेयी साहब को, वाजपेयी साहब जैसे बंदे भाई नहीं
तो कोई। जब भी उनको सामने देखते हैं या उनकी कोई भी हमारे सामने चीज आती है ना वाजपेयी साहब की, तो वो भाई हमें एक बहुत ही एक मने हुए बंदे लगते थे।
भाई उनकी ज्यादा जो बात है ना वो ये याद आती है कि हमारी शुभकामनाएं आपके साथ है
यार। आप देखो ना, अब इंडिया को शुरू से प्योर लीडर मिले हुए हैं जो आपके मतलब अपने देश से मोहब्बत करते थे, अपने देश के ही सोचते थे। अब अटल वाजपेयी देख लें कि एक उन्होंने अपनी हुकूमत को मतलब के एक गवा दिया कि ये लो आप, लेकिन हमारे मुल्क के लिए अच्छा हो। लेकिन अभी आप वही सिनेरियो देख ले पाकिस्तान में,
अब यार आपके सामने हमारे जो है ना वो लास्ट जिस तरह इमरान खान के आप सेम टू सेम ये चीज आए, ठीक है, चलो थोड़ा बहुत ऊंच नीच होगी, लेकिन ये कि बजाय उसने भी अपने मुल्क के मुफाद को सामने रखते हुए अगर साइड पे हट जाते तो शायद आज उससे भी ज्यादा उनका दर्जा होता, बजाय इसके कि वो एक अदारों के टकराव या एक ये चीजें लेने की बजाय अगर वो साइड पे जो है ना वो हो जाते जिस तरह वो हुए थे, और साथ ही उनको जो वो मतलब बाद में वो दोबारा हुए दोबारा वो फिर जो है ना वो इलेक्टेड हुए थे प्राइम मिनिस्टर। लेकिन ये कि वो चीज़ उनकी अभी तक भी पूरी दुनिया मतलब एक हिस्ट्री के तौर पे याद रखी जाएगी कि उन्होंने जो है ना वो अपने मुल्क के लिए कितनी बड़ी कुर्बानी दी थी।
बाकी भाई ना, लेकिन एक समझ नहीं लगती कि न्यूक्लियर पावर जब इधर टेस्ट वगैरह कर रहे थे, लेकिन अमेरिका को क्या इसमें तंगी थी?
अमेरिका को तो होती है, अमेरिका को तंगी, और तो किसी को होती नहीं। अब देख ले इधर ईरान के पीछे वो लगे हुए हैं,
टाइमली बन गए थे, ठीक है ना, टाइमली बन गए थे और उनकी यही फोकस था। असल में ना ये पता नहीं यूरोपियन एक माइंड सेट है या गोरों का एक माइंड सेट है, वो हम एशियंस जो खासकर इंडिया पाकिस्तान के लोग हैं ना, इनको वो नहीं ऊपर जो है ना वो आता देख सकते। पता नहीं वो चाइना को किस हद तक बर्दाश्त कर रहे हैं। हालांकि जब से चाइना ने कोशिश की है, आप थोड़ा सा अपने आप को अप किया है, तो उस दिन से वो उसके पीछे लगे हुए हैं।
और अब इंडिया कर रहा है तो अब उनका ध्यान इधर है, लेकिन इंडिया तो
उनका ध्यान उधर नहीं, इंडिया की तरफ नहीं है उस हद तक। लेकिन ये कि वो मतलब उनकी नजर जरूर है कि वो बस वो देखना चाहते हैं कि जब ये बिल्कुल यहाँ पे आए तो फिर हम कुछ ना, लेकिन ये कि वो होना नहीं है
अब ये कि अब उनकी ट्राई तक
इस वक्त में जमीन आसमान का
उस वक्त तक इंडिया बहुत आगे चला जाएगा ना, जब तक वो इधर
इंडिया का एक स्टैंड काफी स्ट्रॉन्ग है।
हाँ ये सबसे भाई जो भी जिस तरह वो आगे आ रहे हैं, वो अपनी नींव जो है ना, जिसको नींव बोलते हैं, वो मजबूत करते जा रहे हैं। जिस स्टार्ट स्टेप जो है ना उनके ऊपर जा रहे हैं, वो हर स्टेप उनका जो है ना वो एक मजबूत है। बाकी वहाँ पे भाई उनके सबसे मेन चीज होती है किसी भी कंट्री की कि वहाँ की जो अवाम है वो किस हद तक अपने मुल्क के साथ मुखलस है,
यार
वहाँ के जो लीडर है वो किस हद तक आपके मुल्क के साथ
वो जो क्या उसका नाम है सोर्स क्या यार, अभी उसने जो पीएम मोदी की हुकूमत के बारे में बोला है भाई, पूरे इंडिया ने इतना ट्रोल किया उसको कि भाई पिछली जॉर्ज सोर्स ऐसे ही उसका नाम है भाई, पिछली जिंदगी वो इस चीज का नाम नहीं लेगा।
ये होती है भाई, अब आप देखो हमारे जो है ना वो हमेशा से जो है ना वो कहीं ना कहीं इंटरफेयर होता है, वो चाहे फॉरेन हो चाहे इंटरनल हो, ठीक है ना, वो किस लिए होता है, वो अपने पर्सनल मुफाद के लिए होता है। वहां पे ये थोड़ा सा आपको डिफरेंस नजर आएगा। वहां पे वो जो है ना वो अगर कोई है तो वो मुल्क के लिए, वहां पे अगर अपोजिशन करती है डिबेट या बाकी चीजें होती हैं वो मुल्क के लिए होती है। यहाँ पे पर्सनल जो है ना वो फायदे जो है ना वो प्रीफर किए जाते हैं,
हाँ, पर्सनल फायदे के पीछे भागते हैं भाई। तो खैर बहुत ज्यादा अच्छी वीडियो थी भाई, तो उम्मीद करते हैं कि आपको वीडियो पसंद आएगी। अगर पसंद आए तो लाइक सब्सक्राइब जरूर कीजिएगा और कमेंट में अपनी राय का इज़हार जरूर कीजिएगा। अल्लाह।